Colin,
Simon,
how you doing?
good.
Good game of the day. Ah, that's better. That's better. Good game of the day.
Yeah.
Colin McGeer, you must be an ever present here since we came back after lockdown.
After lockdown, yeah, and
You've maybe missed one session or something.
missed one session. As soon as we were allowed, I was kind of up for it.
You were here?
Aye.
Yeah. And everything that's going, you volunteer for it. Everything that's on.
Yeah, absolutely into it.
Where are you from, Colin, originally?
Well, I was born in Glasgow, but I was brought up in St Andrews. So
Ooh.
yes. So it took a while when I came through to get used to the Glasgow way of life.
I bet you wish you still had a place up there, have you?
I do actually. Yeah, I was up there last weekend.
You rent it out?
No, I don't have a place, but I wish I do.
Because everybody's been in St Andrews in the last couple of months.
Yeah,
It seems to be
it's lovely. Yeah.
the in place and now. So St Andrews, you were born?
I was born in Glasgow, moved
Right.
to Annan near Gretna, and then up to St Andrews, where I was brought up since 8 years old.
Why are they moving about? Were they giving you away or something?
Well,
Kidding you?
my dad worked for ICI in Annan, and then he passed away when I was quite young, so my mum's from St Andrews, so we moved back up there. So that's
Right.
kind of the reason we kind of ended up there.
Where'd you go to school?
Yeah, well, fundamentally in St Andrews,
Okay. What was the school called?
Madras College.
Madras College.
And
This is
I
brilliant.
know where you're going with this, and it's quite an interesting point that I'm going to come up with.
The Glasgow, what team do you support, that kind of thing?
Well, family-wise, it was Rangers.
Right.
But interestingly enough, when you're growing up in St Andrews, the Rangers Celtic thing just
It's a
doesn't.
no-no. Or
Some people disappear for a mass, and you go to your
the church.
church thing in the school for an hour, and that's it. So when I came to Glasgow, I was quite naive
Right.
towards the kind of sectarianism, the kind of bitterness.
Yeah. A wake-up call.
That was a wake-up call. Yes.
Yeah. Is it just the west of Scotland then? That you don't see that in the rest of Scotland, in the east coast?
No, it's not so much in Fife. I would say there is the kind of areas that are kind of Protestant kind of areas,
Yeah.
but when you're growing up, it's well, St Andrews, it wasn't separate schools fundamentally. Primary school, yeah, but secondary, no.
Right. So it was only for that hour of religious study or whatever that you
First
got
thing on Monday morning.
segregated.
Yeah.
So what team do you support now?
What team do I support now? I still support Rangers, you know.
Right.
You know how it is. But I've got a soft spot for the likes of Liverpool,
Oh,
because
okay.
they were on the telly growing up.
I thought you were going to say Thistle there. I thought you were going to say Jags there or something intelligent. No.
No, me, no.
So how did you get involved in walking football, Colin?
Well, I was ill for a number of years. I had cancer in 2014, and one of the things about that was my feet stopped working.
Right?
You don't know this full story then?
No.
So it was a
I wasn't sure they'd started working again,
well,
but
it's
there you
starting
go.
now, Simon. You know,
Okay.
you see me playing. So one of the things I was recovering was basically trying to get your balance and movement kind of going. So I kind of thought about walking football. So I had,
Was the cancer in your legs? Was
No,
it nerve damage?
it was in the middle of my back, but it was a blood condition.
Right?
It's quite rare, and it affected from the kind of knee down, so my feet stopped working totally, and if it hadn't been addressed I would have lost the power of my legs and arms. So it was a bit kind of frightening at times, and people have always said, you've been dead positive. I says, well, when you said they could treat it with radiotherapy and it was likely to be very effective, I was like, I'll take that, you know.
Yes.
So
But there's no guarantees, so
it's no guarantees, and my nerves have regrown slightly, but nothing much. So I've said to them, well, how come I can do a bit of sport and everything? They say, well, your muscles are compensating for the lack of kind of nerve movement. So it does play into the you need to keep fit as you get older
right,
type scenario. And
for circulation and all
yeah.
sorts of things, you need to keep moving.
yeah. So the funny story with the walking football was I turned up at Mary Hill, which was the high intensity
Yes,
session,
yes.
right? And
That was like 5 sides, wasn't it? That
it
just
was. It was.
mayhem.
I didn't realise. I thought it was just an ordinary session. So I turned up. I had a stick at that point.
Right.
So I was actually speaking to Nicky. I was saying, Nicky, you were there today. Frank was there. Bill, Russell. I said it must have been some sight, me turning up playing football with a stick.
Yeah.
And I fell over by balance, which was fine. But it was only 2 weeks after the third time I did it. I thought I'm going to try it without a stick.
Yeah.
So I seem to be acutely aware of minor positive changes in my kind of fate, and I thought I'm going to. I seem a little stronger. I'm going to try it. So it's just continually kind of building up different things.
And a big difference since then. When was that then? Was that 2 or 3 years ago?
2018 October.
Right. Right. Well, for the year out, of course.
Yeah.
So you saying that that condition has been positively impacted by the walking football?
Well, there's no doubt.
No question of that.
I do a range of things. We're just talking about different classes potentially in here. And I do Tai Chi,
Right.
because it's good for your balance and your kind of movement. And if you're talking about the walking football, one good example was the warm-up beforehand that you talk about that we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, one of the things is you stand on your ball of your feet and you lift yourself up and down. I couldn't do it. But I tried it. I can do it a bit now, a year on. So it just kind of shows
the progress.
You've got to keep trying to kind of do things.
And do you use a stick at all now?
No. I've got straps.
Can I borrow your stick? Because I quite like a stick on the football park. That'd be quite handy. I think you've missed it a few times and think I could have used my stick here.
Absolutely.
So I know that through chatting to you over the weeks, that you've got you're playing a part in the campaign just now to try and get more facilities open throughout Glasgow, which is quite strange, Colin, because I don't know if you're aware or not, but here at the Pollock United, we tried to get Andy Elliott has the use of Nethercraigs across the road, and he's running it for Glasgow City Council. There's an agreement in place to do that, and we wanted to move the walking football over there on a Monday, because we only have an hour. And we know that we could do so much more if we had more than an hour. We could do a proper warm-up for starters, but not getting in until 5 to 12 and getting out again at 5 to 1. It's too narrow a space to develop the space that we've got. But Glasgow City Council knocked us back, Glasgow Club knocked us back to do that. They won't let us use it Monday to Friday during the day. You're involved in this kind of thing, aren't you? How is that?
Yeah, well, I'm on the Community Council in Whiteinch, and the library, which is not reopening, it's one of the 5 libraries in Glasgow. They're not scheduled for reopening just now.
Okay.
That was one of them, and through that I got involved, and then I'm involved with the Glasgow Against Closures, the big city-wide movement.
Okay.
Because there's 59 venues on the original list that weren't scheduled for reopening, and basically what's happened is Glasgow Life, through the pandemic, lost something like £38 million worth of revenue. The Scottish Government have given the headline figure of 100 million to help Glasgow Life reopen, but it's 25 million a year.
Right.
Which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot. So there's museums, community centres, there's libraries and sports centres. I used to run a kids football club, so I'm acutely aware, and I kind of clocked that right away. And interestingly enough, the Nethercraigs, so-called, is a pilot for asset transfer, because one of the other big programmes, the People Make Glasgow Communities Initiative, is to try and get community groups to take over buildings, because they, in theory, know the local needs and could run them
like
better.
the one we're sitting in right now.
Like the one we're sitting in
Corker
right now.
Hill. This was council run. We heard the story last week from Leslie. We've had Leslie, who works here, told us how this became part of what we're trying to do here in Pollock.
Yeah.
But we could be doing that in every community if we had used these facilities.
So it's quite interesting you're saying, because it's Nethercraigs is down as a pilot scheme, but it's trumped as one of the successful examples of an asset kind of transfer. Yet you're saying, well, actually, you can't use it during the week.
No.
So
and we want to use it to expand all the things that we're doing in here.
Yeah.
All the community things that we're doing, not just walking football, although that's a big part of it for us, obviously.
Yeah.
And yet we're talking about, I heard a thing on the radio this morning, and it's related, everything's related together eventually, but they were talking about the non-claimant of elderly benefits. There's a retirement benefit that you can get, a pension, it tops up your pension.
All right.
And apparently there's £2 billion a year not claimed. It's only 60% of people, pensioners, who claim it, and yet a lot of them are living in poverty. And the figure I want to get to is that if the government identified the £2 billion and gave it to the right people, they would save £4 billion on NHS and social care. And it's the same here. It's that investment in people's health and well-being and mental health, community, socialisation, keeping people busy, addiction. I read a thing the other day that the biggest problem with addiction is that people have got nothing to do. People who are busy and caring for people or mixing with people don't have time to go and try drink and drugs and whatnot because they've got stuff to do. And it's the same here. We're closing all these facilities or not opening them when people are wanting to open them and watching the NHS fill up.
So one of the big arguments is that I did a speech at Glasgow Green about it, and one of the things that I said was, before the pandemic, we had an obesity crisis we need to tackle. We've now got a mental health crisis. We have a loneliness crisis.
Yes, for sure. Isolation.
And fitness and health, if you were fit before and got COVID, it helped you afterwards, and afterwards keeping everybody fit. Yet there's 59 venues in Glasgow, the very venues that we need
Yes.
to open, and these are the services the government say they're putting money into
Yeah.
and will be going forward. Yet locally in each individual area there's 59 venues. Some of them are community centres, some of them are sports centres that they're not reopening. If you take Castlemilk football pitches, for
Yes.
example,
Yeah.
they only got open for a summer football camp programme.
Yeah.
And it's just, they say they have to travel miles across the city.
I helped run an amateur football club, Lomond Vale AFC. I should mention them, I suppose, get them a wee plug. And trying to get parks at the weekend. I had 3 teams on to me at the weekend because they know that I'm here, trying to get Nethercraigs. There's such a shortage of facilities just
I
now.
used to run till a year ago Victoria Park Kids Football Club. So like you, I'm acutely aware that these facilities are needed and to be used, but I don't think they market them enough. There's definitely an issue between getting the facilities open to the right people. That's why they say asset transfer might be a better thing, and yet we're back to Nethercraigs where they say an asset transfer, but you can't use it during the week.
Yeah, there's something not right.
There's something not right with it at all, is there?
We've got lots more to talk about on this, Colin, haven't we? But in the first instance, that's brilliant after 2 years that you're back playing football now.
Yeah.
The next thing is you might score a wee goal or something. That would be great, wouldn't
A
it?
toe poke. Because I can't really strike the ball.
You scored a cracker last week. We got it on film actually, we got it on camera. The one you scored past Davy Denham.
Right.
Did you see it on the
No,
the
I've seen
YouTube?
it.
No?
No, I need to look.
Get shot to all the kids and all that.
Yeah.
All your pals. Colin, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks
Good
very
to talk
much.
to you.
Cheers.